Fat Controller was YouTube. It's me, Thomas, Roblox Mania, and today I'm going to do a creepypasta reading for you guys. And there's one coming right after this one, so stay tuned. This is a Thomas the Tank Engine creepypasta, like the other one that I'm going to release after this one. It's called Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, the Early Reel. So this is the story now. So several years ago, I bought and received a job lot of old Thomas the Tank Engine VHS tapes, and I found them on eBay from an eBay seller, and the tapes seemed to be in really good condition, and a lot of them had extra or missing bits of footage or audio that didn't make it to the final episode's cut. So reluctantly, I brought the lot of VHS tapes, and when they arrived, I decided to look through them. There was ones like Gordon Goes Foreign, the Thomas the Tank Engine pilot, but the one that interested me the most was called Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, the Early Reel. I had never heard of a early reel before, so interested, I decided to pop the VHS in and watch it. The episode started off as normal, and there was no narrator. Ringo Starr or George Carlin was not there. There was no narrator, and the intro scene of Thomas puffing by Farquhar Station was absent, probably because it was a very old VHS tape, and as well as that, the title card looked very blunt. And after the intro sequence played, it cut to the only shot of the pilot from the Down the Mine episode. And the pilot was to use, the Down the Mine pitch was to use to pitch the series so it could be greenlit. And Down the Mine ended up being reshot for the last episode of season 1. So the episode started off as that one scene that we only have of the actual pilot. And after that scene played, it cut to a shot of Thomas collecting the trucks from Knapford Station. And it looked like the Fat Controller was saying something, but I couldn't make out what it was because the voices, for some reason, were in a different language. And the shot of the Fat Controller talking to Thomas, he had a realistic mouth, which was very strange, but I just brushed it off as really good editing. So Thomas coupled up to the trucks, the Fat Controller told him something, and Thomas puffed off. As Thomas was puffing down the line, he whistled to Percy, and who whistled back to him. But strangely, the whistles sounded like the more realistic train whistles that you would get from like ones that are in real life, but of course don't exist anymore because they've been withdrawn from service. Well, technically steam engines still exist, but on different rails. Anyway, let's just get back to the story. So Thomas passes Percy, and then they soon reach Gordon's Hill. But do you remember that really obvious and kind of funny goof in Thomas and the Trucks? Well, that sound effect plays, the one where it says, "Look out for the train," that's there. And so Thomas gets to the top of Gordon's Hill, but the trucks start to push him down the hill. And Thomas gets pushed down the hill and he starts to go faster and faster. And then they get switched off onto a different line. And it looks like the line from the episode Thomas in Trouble, quote, where Thomas gets stopped by a policeman and end quote. But the set seemed to have more rockiness and more bushes, like it's been an abandoned area and had overgrown with rocks and leaves. But the worst thing of all is that there's a goods train on the line, and Thomas's face seems to convey more horror, like you would see with people's faces if they've just witnessed something horrifying. Thomas tries to apply his brakes, but it's too late. Thomas crashes into the train, falling down a mountain and blowing up with a really realistic explosion sound effect. Ones that would be heard in like green screen explosion sound effects. But anyway, we can see Thomas. He's in really bad shape, and it also cuts to a scene of presumably his driver, but this driver is the one from the episode Horrid Lorry, where that horrid lorry falls off a cliff. But there's one problem with the driver. His right arm has been disconnected or dislocated from his body. And Percy puffs with the breakdown crane, and there is someone saying in a different language, which translates to, luckily no one was hurt. So then it cuts to a shot of an engine, which is presumably either a scrapped or ghost Thomas coasting down what looks to be the viaduct from the episode Thomas and Gordon, where Gordon wants to get back at Thomas for waking him up, and then Gordon plays a trick on him, and Thomas ends up getting coupled to the back of Gordon's train, goes too fast, and Thomas gets tired. But the viaduct seems to be very, very, very run down. Like, it's very dirty and there's a lot of bushes on it. And, well, yeah, foliage on the viaduct if it's been overgrown. So maybe this Ghost Thomas is probably coasting down a disused branch line. The reason I'm using the word coasting is because there's no thing to signify that the engine is running on his own on his own power. So there's also something that Thomas's looks to be his door keeps on like banging back and forth, but every time it bangs back and forth, we can actually, I could see a bit of, looks to be ash, but on further closer inspection, it seems to be some sort of rotting flesh. And then it cuts to scenes of presumably Thomas, but he's scrapped. So there's a bunch of scenes of Thomas being scrapped, but then it cuts to a scene of not only Thomas, but multiple engines that have been withdrawn from service. But these don't look like the engines from the TV series. The engines from the TV series usually see themselves like models or classes that look like themselves whenever they go to the scrapyard, probably just for scrap dressing. But in this particular episode, the engines look very real, like they're actually real-life locomotives that have been withdrawn from service. And you can see a battery locomotive which came out of obscurity when the CGI series started, serving for the bases for Stafford. And, Thomas is scrapped. Jeez Louise, that was a long one. I hope you enjoyed this creepypasta reading, and I'll see you in the next one that I'll release when that goes out. Bye!